Welcome to Islamic Knowledge Hub, authentic Islamic teachings, wisdom, and inspiration. Subscribe and grow with knowledge.
Your head, conquerors with these massive armies, emperors with kingdoms that stretched for miles and miles. But what if I told you that the greatest authority ever wielded wasn't just over people, but over, well, the very fabric of existence itself? See, when we try to measure power, we usually think in terms of land, money, or military strength. But the sources we're looking at today point to a leader whose command went so far beyond a normal kingdom. We're talking about a ruler who could command the wind, the animals, and even beings from a world we can't even see. And that's who we're talking about, Prophet Suleman. His story isn't your typical tale of conquest and battle. It's a narrative filled with divinely granted abilities that totally flip our modern understanding of power on its head. This is the story of a king whose sovereignty was, in a word, absolute. So where do you even begin with a story this big? Well, let's start with something we can wrap our heads around: the tangible world. We're talking about the creatures and even the landscape itself. And Solomon's dominion here wasn't just symbolic, it was a direct line of communication and command. I mean, the sheer scope of his influence is just incredible. The sources mention him preparing a gigantic feast for every single creature on Earth. They talk about him speaking directly with mountains. He even ran parts of his kingdom with the help of animals, which brings us to the famous story of the Hoopoe bird and the Queen of Sheba. Seriously, just imagine this for a second. Your most crucial piece of foreign intelligence. It doesn't come from a spy. It doesn't come from an envoy. It comes from a bird. That's exactly how one of the most significant events of Solomon's entire reign got started. And boy, did it set the stage for a remarkable encounter. And here's pretty much how it all went down. A little Hoopoe bird flies back and reports on Queen Bilqis and her sun-worshipping kingdom. So what does Suleiman do? He uses that same bird as a messenger to invite her to his faith. Now she's skeptical, so she tests him with all these riddles and gifts, but his wisdom is just overwhelming. In the end, she's so amazed that she travels to his court and accepts his message. This wasn't a military victory. It was a triumph of wisdom and divine guidance, and it was all kicked off by his command over the animal kingdom. Okay, so commanding animals is already pretty extraordinary, right? But Solomon's authority went even further, way further, into a realm completely invisible to human eyes. We're now stepping into the world of the supernatural. So what exactly are jinn? Well, the sources describe them as these powerful, intelligent beings made from a substance we literally can't perceive, smokeless fire. They exist in a dimension parallel to ours, and their abilities are far, far beyond what any human is capable of. And to really get a sense of their power, think about it like this. While we're stuck dealing with physics and gravity, the jinn could apparently travel vast distances in the blink of an eye. They could build these magnificent, enormous structures with ease. They had immense strength and knowledge of hidden things, like treasures buried deep within the earth. But here is the absolute game changer. Prophet Suleman didn't just know about them. He commanded them. This massive, unseen workforce of incredibly powerful beings was completely under his control. They were building his temples, diving for pearls, and serving his kingdom. I mean, that's a level of authority no other ruler in history has ever even come close to claiming. But his power went even deeper. We've gone from the tangible world of animals to the supernatural realm of the jinn. And now we arrive at the most profound frontier of all, a direct conversation with mortality itself. Just think about that for a moment. I mean, really, it's a concept that's almost impossible to wrap your head around, right? A mortal human being having a direct conversation with the very entity that represents the end of all life. And yet, the sources are crystal clear on this point. Prophet Suleman had a dialogue with the angel of death. And this wasn't some kind of plea or negotiation. It was a conversation. This shows a level of authority and a spiritual station that goes beyond physical power. It transcends the very boundary between life and death. So, what do we make of all this? How could one single person possess such an absolutely mind-blowing range of abilities? We've seen his power over creatures, over spirits, and even over death itself. Now it's time to uncover the real source of this unparalleled greatness. Let's just run that back for a second. We have a king who speaks with animals and mountains, who commands an army of supernatural beings, and who converses with the angel of death. You see, these aren't just separate party tricks. They all paint a complete picture of a ruler whose authority truly knew no earthly or unearthly bounds. And this is where we get to the absolute heart of the matter. None of this power was of his own making. It wasn't something he achieved through conquest or personal ambition. As the sources state very clearly, every single one of these miracles was a special power, a gift granted to him directly by God. So the ultimate takeaway from this explainer, really, is a total shift in perspective. The story of Prophet Solomon suggests that true greatness isn't measured by the power you hold, but by your connection to the source of all power. His authority was absolute for one reason, because its origin was divine. And that leaves us with one final thought to really chew on. In a world that so often equates authority with force and control, Solomon's story asks us to look a little deeper. Is real authority about personal power, or is it about profound faith? Definitely something to think about.